All right, well, hello and welcome, Broncos country. I am the Kodiak, and today I'm going to be bringing you my review on Dallen Bentley and everything you need to know. But before we get into it, I just want to say a couple things. First of all, Broncos country, the support has been outstanding from y'all this upcoming weekend. So it'd be a huge help to me if you guys could leave a like if you enjoy, subscribe if you're not already. Maybe you could wait until the end. Hopefully I've earned it. If you are on mobile, make sure you hit that hype button to support me and my friends. We've been working really hard to bring you the best Broncos coverage on YouTube the past weekend, and I'm happy to say continues right now with Dallen Bentley. So real quick, I just want to say something. I am stoked about our 7th round picks. I don't need to come out of a draft excited with our 7th round picks. I just don't need to feel like we took Caleb Loader last year when I was just like, why did we do that? But with Dallen Bentley, you used your 7th round picks in a super duper smart way, okay? My biggest complaints the past 2 years had been, at the positions you suck at, you didn't really add to the bottom of your roster, and you did that this year with Dallen Bentley. So I'm absolutely jazzed about this one. But either way, so with Dallen Bentley, he's a 4-star, or he was a 4-star JUCO tight end from Taylorsville, Utah, out of Snow College. So he didn't have a recruiting profile when he was like a recruit, but after his sophomore year, I believe, in JUCO, he was able to transfer, and then he was able to get drafted, or he was able to get picked up by the Utah Utes that very same year. But he was the number one player in that class at tight end, and actually the number one player in that 2023 JUCO recruiting class was Malik Benson, who got drafted by the Raiders today, which is interesting. But either way, he split time in 2023 and 2024 in the tight end room at Utah with Thomas Yasmin, who I don't remember who he got drafted by. I don't even remember if he got drafted or not, but I just remember he was floating around the league. It may have been us, low-key. But Carson Ryan as well, who once again just got drafted by Cleveland today. Carson Ryan then transfers out to BYU after the 2024 season. And this past year, Dallen Bentley gets his time to shine, as Caleb Loader got drafted by us last year. So, yep, he got his chance to be the tight end one this past year, and he got 650 yards. And 650 yards is a pretty good mark for a tight end in college. You look at the upper echelon of guys, like even Raritan was like 440 this past year. It was like, that's great. But then you get 650 yards, like you were a legit contributor in the passing game, especially when you look at the deployment of where he lined up. They split him as primarily an inline guy. I think 55% inline, then the rest slot. But either way, he is a legit weapon that you can use in the passing game. And once again, I am stoked about this, okay? I don't need to come out excited, but you know what? The Broncos took 3 guys late in the draft that I'm excited about. But either way, Dallen Bentley had been on a lot of people's radar as a late round steal because of the height, because of the weight, and because of the fact that he was a 4.62 40-yard dash guy. And I guess if there's anything to look at, it might be the height. But you know what? 6'3", I think, is plenty big for a tight end. When I was watching him, I was like, you know what? I wonder if they'd use him as an H-back, like as a Nate Atkins replacement. But I don't think they really need to do all that. But 24 bench reps at 225, so he's a strong dude. Hand size, it's kind of crazy to me that because he does have smaller hands compared to the other guys we took. Like Joe Lee has 10.5-inch hands. So yeah, smaller hands, I'd say. It's not like they're not like super small or anything like that. But 253 pounds, and you know what? Tested well with everything else. 35-inch vert, 9 foot 10-inch broad jump, I believe. Shuttle 4.42, 3-cone 7 seconds flat. So that's pretty interesting. And then the 10-yard split, which is something that matters hugely for this testing cycle and for skill positions in general. 1.62. So once again, you have Adam Troutman out there who runs like a 4.8 or whatever, and now you have 2 tight ends that run so much quicker than that. I am super duper stoked that we have Dallen Bentley. But if you look at the analytics, so you're going to look at everything that Dallen Bentley did, and you know what? If you just look at the overall production profile from his time, in college, you're probably not going to find much because he was a 24-year-old breakout, and that is something that analytics heavily punish. But if you're looking at the yards per out run, very good this past year. Like I think Trigg was the only guy in the class who had a higher yards per out run, or no, I'm trying to think, who was it? Stowers, and then there was somebody else that was 2.23 yards per out run that I can't think of right now. But Bentley, I'm pretty sure was 3rd on that list. I know he was 2nd at ADOT, but yeah. So if you're looking at the EPA per play, I don't understand how it's so low, considering that I think he was just on the field a lot to block for Utah his first 2 years. But yeah, then you look at the drop rate, absolutely elite. Once again, only 1 year of production to back him up, which did end up making him fall to our pick. But ultimately, you look at everything else, checks out. All right. Not only did he have a really good year of production this past year, but good athleticism, good weight. He's clean with everything pretty much as far as the profile. And then you look at the run blocking. All right, 61.3 PFF rating. That's not the worst, but you know what? There is still room to improve. Good pass blocking rating, which, you know what? That does kind of surprise me to see. Either way, let's talk about everything else. So PFF, once again, he doesn't have a whole lot of recorded stats from his time at Snow College in Utah, but rather than focusing on the raw stats right here, I want to focus on the inline percentage because, he got lined out wide 11.9% of the time. And keep this number in mind because I remember I was watching the AFC Championship and I was watching the game against the Bills. I'm like, dude, why are we lining Adam Prentice and Lucas Kroll, or Kroll wasn't out there, but Adam Troutman out wide? I was like, what are we doing with our wide deployment? And then, you go to this past draft cycle. I was disappointed we didn't look at the tight end market in free agency. I was a little disappointed, but then this makes me feel so much better because you were able to deploy him at 30% of the slot. And I just want guys that you don't tell the defense what you're doing based on their alignment, okay? You don't tell the defense that, hey, Dallen Bentley's in the game. We know it's going to be a run or we know it's going to be a pass because that had been infuriating with Broncos football over the past few years. So now you take Jolie and you take Bentley, who can both play both inline and F slot hybrid if you need them to. So, oh my God, I'm so excited about that, okay? But you look at 2023, in 2024, not a whole lot of production, like I said, behind Carson Ryan, Thomas Yasmin, and Caleb Loader. But then you look at this past year, 2.07 yards per out run. And once again, the second highest ADOT in the class behind Michael Triggs. So that tells you that he was playing legit wide receiver. Now, once again, these were all the games that he played at Utah. I think he was just primarily a special teamer in 2024 and 2023 for Utah. Once again, didn't get a whole lot of production, but this past year was able to break out in a huge way. So once again, really happy with that. And then you look at the strengths from his draft profile, okay? They're saying mid-cut with quality length and solid muscle in his arms, torso, bubble, and quads. They wrote a very similar thing about Justin Jolie, by the way. They said that he's built thick, he's got solid muscle in there. And they also said that he's a versatile athlete in both phases. This really, really stuck out to me. Can do a standing backflip at 260 pounds. Okay, I need to see proof of this, okay? I need to see Dallen Bentley doing a backflip because I don't believe this. That's one of those things that you kind of got to see to believe. But either way, natural hands catcher with 0 drops on 76 targets in 2025 as well. Sorry, I'm just kind of going crazy with my cursor right there. But yes, quick to open stride and pick up steam as he accelerates. And like I said, you're going to see in the first clip when we watch the film that this guy is getting legit acceleration yak. Okay, and I think that's something that makes me so excited about him. And, he's fluid, flipping his hips once he reaches the route landmarks, and he does give his quarterback a target, keeps his feet alive to drop step at the catch, giving him a head start for yak. He runs his feet on contact as a blocker to spring runs, and he's routinely used as an on-the-move blocker in Utah's run-first attack. Man, that tracks. That tracks with what I saw because, they use him a lot as a move tight end, and, there's a difference between a move tight end who doesn't really block a lot and a move tight end who does block a lot. Claire was somebody, Max Claire that is, from Ohio State, who didn't really have the blocking capabilities to really, really be their blocking guy, even though Cash Merrick was an absolutely phenomenal blocking tight end for Ohio State this past year. But I feel like as a pure blocking tight end, Claire was capable, but I think Dallen Bentley, that's a legitimate strength of his game. But yeah. So if you're looking at the weaknesses, this is the big one. This is why he fell to us at 256 or whatever it was. I don't really agree with this. Can be distracted by bodies around him at the catch point. I think he was plenty fine with that. You're going to see when we watch Utah against Nebraska that his capabilities with when he's surrounded by defenders are completely fine. But yeah, I feel like a lot of these are some decent weaknesses, and you know what? They're all valid. And, once again, I got to hone in on this one. Only one season of consistent production, overaged already to 25. So he actually does have meager special teams experience. Okay. Once again, I didn't really look too much into that. I just kind of assumed that's why he didn't get any production in 2024 and 2023. But once again, this past year, broke out in a huge way. But yes, fumbled against BYU in 2025, not a good look. Inconsistent sustained hands on base blocks. We'll see. We'll see. Want to see better efficiency in entering and finishing on split zone plays. All right, cool. I can live with that, okay? Because a lot of this sounds really technical. And you know what? I feel like that's something that can be ironed out of his game, because what can't you teach? You can't teach 4.62, and you can't teach dogging him. So what does his fit here? I'm telling you right now, he's a better inline tight end than Adam Troutman. Okay, right this very second, if you're looking at me, you're saying, okay, who are the best two inline tight ends on the Broncos? I'd say the two guys we drafted today. We drafted Justin Joly. We drafted Dallen Bentley. So you know what? I am stoked about that, because once again, I feel like you didn't take the tight end position seriously last year in the draft. Okay, you didn't even add any UDFAs. So once again, the fact that you came out of here with two, when I was just hoping we left the draft with one, I am jazzed about that. Like I said, but only 1 year of college production, but best ADOT in the class besides Trig, 8.9. So I'm curious to see, this might legitimately be a useful passing weapon in our offense, because we haven't really had a vertical threat tight end in a while, okay? And you know what? Bentley, he struck me more as a vertical threat rather than like a chunk play guy. I think Joly will be the chunk play guy, whereas I think Bentley could be like the stretch the defense sort of guy. And you see that 4.62 speed with that really nice 10-yard split show up on film. But you know what? Once again, we love our Utah players and we love old prospects, so I should have seen this coming from a mile away. That being said, let's watch some film. All right, let's watch some film on Dallen Bentley. Now, once again, I apologize, because the first two clips we're going to watch are some pretty horrible quality. Utah versus Texas Tech was a pretty, low quality clip or game in my database for whatever reason. That being said, you're going to watch right here Dallen Bentley. Sorry, it's a little pixelated, but right here, Dallen Bentley catches the ball. And even though you can't really see what's going on, you can for sure see that this is some real yak right here that gets picked up by Dallen Bentley. It'll be a little bit easier to see from the type, but we've got Dallen Bentley working over the middle of the field right here. And once again, Utah was able to deploy him both slot and inline, but they were really able to take advantage of his capabilities as an inline tight end. So that's really, really neat right there. All right, gets a little cleaner right here when we look at the Las Vegas Bowl between the Nebraska Cornhuskers and the Utah Utes. So what do we got right here? Well, we've got a deep ball to Dallen Bentley, and real quick, before I just let this play out, Dallen Bentley is running from the slot. He's running a very deep vertical concept right here, and he's able to run, and he's able to complete a contested catch with about 3 Cornhuskers bearing down on him. So really cool to see that. Once again, watch him from the slot right here and just watch him take off, watch him fly. And the DBs can't keep up with him. The safeties, they're just like, oh crap, we know that he's going deep. And yep, contested target, even though it's a pretty good throw by, I forget who their quarterback is. I know it was the guy who played at New Mexico last year. But yeah, great throw, great catch by Bentley right there as well. We've got Bentley working as a slot again, and watch him just climb. Watch him just climb right here to the second level, and just watch him block. Watch him open up that run lane. Let's go. And like I said, there's we don't have good blocking tight ends on this roster. We don't have good receiving tight ends on this roster until today. And I really think that you got two guys in Bentley and Joly who can immediately come in and be better inline guys than Adam Troutman, because you see him right there. You see him drive the guy back on Utah. Let's watch that one more time. Number 88 right here on the Utah Utes just works to the second level. Such a clean block and such a clean run lane for the running back. Love to see it right here. All right, what do we got right here? So we've got Bentley motioning out right here. And once again, you don't have a guy currently on your team that could do this as part of a skill set. It feels a little silly to talk about, but watch Bentley escape right here. How many times did you see Troutman do this past year? Like maybe once, okay? And even though the defense knows they have to respect him, the guy's still not quick enough to catch up to him, because watch this number 21 dude right here, okay? He recognizes, oh crap, I'm really late in my assignment, and Bentley is wide open right here. So then we've got him just working, and once again, just able to get some legit yak, dude. What a stiff arm right there by Dallen Bentley, He shows everything that you want in your tight ends. He shows route running. He shows yak. He shows, just dogging him. I love the fact that we use this pick on a guy that I think could actually contribute to our team very, very soon. Sorry, I should have highlighted Bentley before this route was ran right here, but either way, he's running from the slot, and he's just going to run a little zig route, a little out route. Or I should say, if you've ever played Madden, that's called a return route right there. But either way, Dampier checking at the line of scrimmage, and then what do we got right here? All right, Bentley, once again, just a nice little... Oh, yeah, I forgot. That's called a whip in Madden, not a return. But yeah, no, nice little route right there. And then what do we got right here? We've got Dallen Bentley. Okay, watch him from as the move tight end right here. All right, as the move tight end, the F, he's blocking down, and boom! Even though the defender is still, stumbling, and even though this was probably an easy block to make, boom! Still able to do what we want him to do, which is, not take a penalty and not be passive. So once again, you're always looking for assignment for your tight ends, and you know what? Bentley's able to meet the guy at the hole. Love that. Okay, this is another play where, okay, this game is pretty out of reach at this point against New Mexico, but watch this, okay? Dallen Bentley, even though they're up 38-14, watch him still playing hard right here, running from the slot. He's going to run towards the end zone, the pylon right here, and once again, they just completely lose sight of him, okay? I don't know. This was definitely a coverage bust because, once again, you have what looks like man coverage 1, 2, 3, but post snap, I don't know what they key in on. I think they just got taken back by this fake screen, and what it allowed them to do is it allowed Bentley to slip out right here. So pretty dang cool right there. Well done, Dallen Bentley, and then he hits a little celebration in the end zone. All right, let's watch that one more time. All right, I will have a more extensive film breakdown coming out about Dallen Bentley, but I figured I'd just tell you everything you need to know about him, and that suffices for now. But let's get back to the video. All right, guys, how do I feel about this? Once again, I don't need to come out of these excited, but I am very excited. Like, this is the most excited I've been about a Broncos Day 3 haul in a long time. I was terrified they wouldn't leave the draft with a tight end. Instead, they got 2, okay? I was, one of those guys that's like, okay, we're lucky if they leave with a running back, a linebacker, and a tight end. Even though it took until Mr. Irrelevant, who I'm going to talk about here in a little bit, for them to leave with that tight end, I am so excited. And once again, you took 2 prospects with real inline tight end upside, and I think Bentley is more like NFL ready inline than Jolie, and Sean Payton said the same thing after his post-draft presser, so I don't think that's a huge surprise. He said that Bentley is more of the NFL ready inline, whereas Jolie is more of the NFL ready F slot hybrid, but both guys can play those roles interchangeably, which I'm so excited to see. But yeah, I didn't think he'd be here, but I'm not stunned. Like, I had a round 6 grade on him just because of the low production. But you know what? Once again, I am really excited about this. This was a position of need. This is an exciting guy with athletic upside who showcased a lot of exciting things this past year at Utah. So I can get behind it. I can get really behind it. I'm actually jazzed that we did something like this because I never thought that they'd do something like this. But yeah. All right, that's it for me. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, salute.